Our team of political watchdogs, pollsters, and political science critical areas.
With correspondents and district reporters spread across the country, we rest assured all the time we report of turn-up events as they unfold.
On the Poll Center, we'll bring you an excellent television experience with advanced graphic presentation that will give you a clear visual of the vote tallies, trends, and key turning points as they unfold live on screen.
ABC News Ghana will provide you with in-depth analysis of voter pattern shifts, regional shifts, and what the early results could mean for the final outcome of the elections.
From voting challenges to disputes over election results, ensuring our viewers understand the legal landscape.
On social media, we'll bring you live updates and key highlights from the polling stations, keeping you engaged and informed with the latest developments online.
From the streets to the polling centers, we will capture the voices of everyday Ghanaians, hear their thoughts and concerns as they cast their ballots.
ABC News is committed to unbiased, accurate, and in-depth coverage. Join us on the Poll Center for the most reliable 2024 election coverage.
Stay tuned, stay informed, stay with the Poll Center right here on ABC News Ghana Television, your election guide.
Over 5 million children have benefited from free SHS. Protect free SHS. Vote Dr. Baumia, #1 on the ballot. Over 5 million children have benefited from free SHS. Protect free SHS. Vote Dr. Baumia, #1 on the ballot.
Right, you are welcome back to the show here on ABC News Ghana. This is Constituency in Focus with me, Samuel Nyimabo. I want to apologize for the late start of today's program. But let's move away from that and get straight into the details of today's discussion or today's analysis. And like I mentioned earlier, we'll be getting to the Upper West region to dissect two key constituencies ahead of the December polls. We are just 5 days ahead of the elections, and today we had the special voting across 14 regions across the country because of the rescheduling of the Western and the Eastern region. So the Upper West region is where our focus will be on today, and for today we are looking at the Nandom constituency as well as the Dafiama Busi Issa constituency in the Upper West region of the country. And now these two constituencies are shaping up very strongly ahead of the elections. But before we get into the analysis of the Fiama Busi Issa constituency, let's look at the Nandom constituency. Now, Nandom is located in the Lora district of the Upper West region of Ghana. It is primarily an NDC constituency, but whenever there are some differences and issues within the NDC, then the NPP capitalize on that to win the seat in the Upper West region. Now, Nandom is one of the few constituencies being held by the New Patriotic Party ahead of the December polls. I mean, the New Patriotic Party holds the Nandom constituency, and this is as a constituency in the Upper West region. Beside that, the party has struggled over the years to win the parliamentary seat within these constituencies. And today, like I mentioned, we will be getting to understand how the constituency, the Nandom constituency, is shaping up ahead of the December 7 polls. Now, this constituency was formed in 2012 following the split of the Laura Nandom constituency, which used to be the Laura Nandom constituency. And in 2012, there was a split into the Nandom constituency and then the Laura constituency. And since 2012, the NPP has found their form in that constituency, winning in the last two elections. In 2016, the MP for the area, Ambrose Derry, who is the current Interior Minister, won in the constituency. Then in 2020, he won the seat again for the New Patriotic Party. So it means that since the seat was formed apart from 2012 when the NDC won the seat, they lost the seat in 2016 and lost it again in 2020 to the New Patriotic Party. And what we are picking up is that the grounds are shaping up in a way that the NPP candidate Ambrose Derry should be concerned about, especially with issues that are related to feud within the NPP in the constituency. There are issues of disagreement happening within the executives in the constituency. We know that if you look at the constituency, like I mentioned earlier, it is the issues. When issues arises within the NDC, that's when the NPP capitalize on it. But this time around, it is seeming as though the NPP are rather having issues within the constituency. And the question is, can the NDC also capitalize on the ongoing feud and the ongoing issues, disagreement happening within the NPP, especially with relating to the NP for the area and some constituency executives? So we'll be going into the nitty-gritty of the issues in the Nandom constituency to see if Honorable Ambrose Derry, the Minister for Interior, stands a chance of retaining the seat, or the NDC candidate would snatch the seat away from the NPP this time round. If you look at Nandom, it is also a constituency that has over the years been voting skirt and blouse. They have voted for, if you look at the time the NPP has won in this constituency, I mean the 2 times that Ambrose Derry has won in this constituency, the NDC has won in the presidential election. So it is a typical skirt and blouse voting constituency in the Upper West region. So will it be the same style where they will vote for the NPP candidates in the person of Ambrose Derry and vote against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, where they'll be voting for John Dramani Mahama in the elections? These are questions we'll try to answer on today's show on ABC News Ghana on our Constituency in Focus today on the Nandom constituency. But before we get to understand how Nandom will shape up with just 5 days to the elections and the issues happening in the constituency, especially in the camp of the New Patriotic Party, let's quickly get to understand what the voting pattern has been like in the Nandom constituency since its creation in 2012. So let us give you the analysis of the presidential breakdown and the parliamentary breakdown in this constituency. So we'll be getting into that very quickly. Let us look at the parliamentary and the presidential breakdown in the Nandom constituency. You look at, like I mentioned, the constituency is primarily a skirt and blouse constituency where they vote for the NDC in the presidential elections and the NPP in the parliamentary elections. So if you look at what you see on your screens and even within the studio here, what I am projecting here is also showing that since 2012, the NDC has won in the constituency in terms of the presidential elections, but you see a downward trend where the line graph is sloping downwards from the top. So in 2012, they had 70.40% of the vote. In 2016, the NDC won once again in the constituency, amassing 61.20% of the vote. Then in 2020, they won again with some 51.94% of the vote. But the NPP on the other side, in terms of the presidential election, has also been seeing some upward adjustment in their percentage of the votes they get in the Nandom constituency, where they lost in 2012, only securing 28.20% of the vote in that 2012 elections. But in 2016, when they won the presidential elections in Ghana, they lost their constituency as well. But this time around, they had a bigger percentage of 36.60% of the vote. Then in 2020, the New Patriotic Party increased their margin further, or increased their percentage further to 47.32% of the vote in that 2020 election. So if this is anything to go by, then the NPP are likely to get their first win in the Nandom constituency in terms of the presidential ballot, because you look at the upward adjustment, it means that the presidential election has been going well for them. Even though they are losing, they are making some very impressive gains in the constituency. The question is, can Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia get that needed vote to win the constituency and surpass that 50% mark in the Nandom constituency? That is a question we will try to answer on the show today. But let's move away from the presidential elections, as you see there, and move to the parliamentary elections, where our key focus is on Constituency in Focus today. So the key focus today is this that you are saying. You realize that the NDC, since 2012, has in 2012 won the parliamentary elections in this constituency, winning by some 63.80% of the vote. Now, in 2016, Ambrose Derry secured the seat for the NPP, coming in very strongly to get 51.40% of the vote in that 2016 election. Now, Ambrose Derry used to be the NP for the area in used to be the NP for the Laura Nandom constituency in 2008. Now, following the split of the constituency into Laura and Nandom, he went to the Nandom side of the new constituency in 2012, but lost the seat to the NDC candidate in that 2012 election. Then in 2016, he came strongly to win the ballot for the New Patriotic Party in that 2016 elections. Then in 2020, as Interior Minister during the first term of President Akufo-Addo, he was given the nod again in the Nandom constituency to lead the people of Nandom in the 8th Parliament, where he secured 57.83% of the vote. Now, if you look at this, like I mentioned, represents a typical skirt and blouse voting in the Nandom constituency, where the NPP has been winning in the parliamentary elections, but however find it very difficult to win in the presidential election. The question is, will this be the same dynamics we will see in the 2024 elections? These are questions we'll try and answer. So let's quickly go back and look at the key contests. Who were the two candidates that faced off in that 2012 elections, in the 2016 elections, and in the 2020 elections? Now, in 2012, Ambrose Derry was the first NPP candidate on the ballot for the Nandom constituency. Following that split, Ambrose lost in that 2012 elections. He lost to Dr. Benjamin Kumbo of the NDC, where Dr. Benjamin had 63.82% of the vote. Now, look at the difference that he gave Ambrose in that election. A difference of 5,839 votes in that election in 2012. Let's see what Ambrose did when he came back in 2016 to win the seat for the NPP. Quickly, let's look at the 2016 elections for the New Patriotic Party in the Nandom constituency. You look at the difference here, a difference of 5,839 votes for a vote difference between the two leading candidates in the 2012 elections. But however, Ambrose Derry came in very strongly to win back the seat for the New Patriotic Party, becoming one of the few seats the party has held in the Upper West region since the 2012 elections. Now, let's look at the 2016. What was the key context in that 2016 elections? 2016, we had Ambrose Derry faced off a new candidate, the NPP. The NDC changed their candidate in that 2016 in that 2016 parliamentary elections in the Nandom constituency. The NDC changed their candidate in the 2016, and as a result, Ambrose Derry won the seat for the NPP. But if we don't have the 2016, let's quickly look at that 2020 elections. The 2020 elections also saw the NPP win big in the constituency as well. 2020, let's quickly look at the contest in the 2020 elections in the Nandom constituency. Let's quickly look at the contest in the Nandom constituency in the 2020 elections. In 2020 elections, let's look at that. So 2020, you have Ambrose Derry of the NPP retaining the seat after winning the 2016 elections against Richard of the NDC. Now, Ambrose gave a gap of 4,127 votes in that 2020 elections. That was a drop from what he had in the 2016 election. You realize that in 2016, Ambrose Derry won very big for the NPP in the 2016 elections. So this has been the contest, the key contest in the constituency. But the question is, in 2024, who wins in the 2024 elections for the New Patriotic, either for the New Patriotic Party or the NDC? Who wins? Is it Ambrose Derry or the same Richard Kwe of the NDC in the Nandom constituency? Does Ambrose Derry get to retain the seat, or he loses it to the NDC's Richard? That is a question we'll try to answer here on our show. And quickly we'll be going to the Upper West region to connect and look at what is happening, the current constituency internal dispute within the NPP, and how that is likely to play to the disadvantage of the party in the 2024 elections. And we'll be going to the Upper West region to connect with our correspondent there to give us a bit of understanding of what really the issue is in the Nandam constituency, and whether Ambrose Derry should be wary of it, or he still have a bigger chance of winning in this year's elections. Quickly, let's connect to our reporter on the ground. I'm talking about Robert Dimbe from the Upper West region to give us understanding of what is happening in the constituency. We'll be connecting to Robert very soon to get understanding of the issues in the Upper West region, especially in the Nandom constituency. So as and when we get Robert, we'll get that analysis. But what we are picking up from grounds is that the NPP are having an internal wrangling currently happening in the constituency, and Ambrose Derry is facing issues with his constituency executives, and this has been the pattern for the NDC, which has led to Ambrose securing the seat for the NPP in two successive elections. Now that he is now facing issues with his constituency executives, how is that likely to play out for the party in the constituency? Will he get the seat again for the party? Because the NDC have focused their attention of securing back that seat away from the NPP. And I mean, a few weeks ago, the chairman, the NDC chairperson, the chairman of the party, Johnson Asedun Ketia, was in the constituency, and he elaborated on their plan to win back the elections. And he was telling the constituency that ever since Ambrose Derry became MP in 2016, where he got to be appointed the interior minister, he hasn't done much to help the people of Nandom, and he should be voted out in these 2024 elections. However, Ambrose Derry has resisted that point labeled against him, saying that the people of Nandom are yet to see his full potential, and that after they vote for him for the third time, he will do even much more than he's currently doing in the Nandom constituency. And we'll be trying to connect to our reporter on ground to get understanding of what is really happening in the Nandom constituency. And our reporter on grounds is Robert. Robert, if you are there, can you hear me, Robert?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello, Robert.
Yes, I can hear you.
Right, Robert, if you can hear me, I'm struggling to hear you. But if you can hear me, quickly take us through of what is happening in Nandom. Should Ambrose Derry be wary ahead of the elections?
Yes, as it stands now, Nandom, which actually gradually become a safe seat for the NPP, is likely to face a challenge this coming election due to some differences within the party members, especially with regards to some people who are very close to Honorable Ambrose doing a lot of stuff for him. Some who are his aides who especially attempted to contest the last primaries and was disqualified from contesting. That has really turned a lot of passions from people who probably would have supported Ambrose so strongly, with some concerns being raised. Even recently, on Facebook, he went ahead to put a post and training innuendos with regards to who a leader is supposed to be like, and all fingers could just vividly point out that he probably was referring to Honorable Ambrose Derry. So when you look at that situation, Nandom, which is one of the constituencies where NPP is making grounds here in the region, is likely to change with regards to these few weeks leading to the elections. Prior to this, as about a month ago, the situation wasn't that serious like we have seen, especially that the special voting is taking place today. I don't know whether they were also just waiting so that when the time draws much closer, then they activate certain things to make things difficult for the member of parliament. You can realize that his own members who were supposed to be giving him enough maximum, and so there are people that have always championed his activities since 2016. You expect that they will be championing his activities now, are the same people that appear, the likes of James, who was his special assistant, the likes of Alois, who also was disqualified during the primaries. They have the kind of following that you cannot underrate as far as the MPP in Nandom is concerned. But all these guys seem to have turned their guns against the Honorable Member of Parliament. And I think Honorable Ambrose will have a lot of work to do. On Saturday, spotted him. He wasn't doing bad though, but you could see that the crowd Ambrose works with, it wasn't that kind of crowd that I saw, and especially perhaps the activity he came to attend, which was the funeral of renowned surgeon, said Dr. Honorable Jadere. You expected that some kind of euphoria to come as compared to every political party that suffices at the funeral, but Ambrose Derry, who came with the Honorable Regional Minister, the euphoria wasn't as expected. Anybody that knows how Honorable Ambrose moves with his team, that perhaps that could also be a strategy for him. I don't know, but all in all, it doesn't speak well, and I think that considering the past elections where Ambrose actually wins with a very good margin, with regards to people coming over. When you notice the NDC actually have also taken some steps to forge a stronger team. Last election, we didn't have the likes of Ambrose Derry, Benjamin Kumbu, leading a campaign team and all that. But this time around, he's in the constituency. He's in there since the former President John Dramani Mahama came and left. He's been there doing his campaigns, and other big leagues, the likes of Kadbet Baba Kumpiel, who happens to be the former DCE under the John Dramani Mahama government, also contested the primaries and now again contested the loss to Honorable Richard. Still, you find him also very actively campaigning in the constituency. I think that these are some of the indicators that are pointing to the fact that Honorable Ambrose will have to do more than he has always done. The other issue has to do with during the election, the concerns of people being barred into the constituency to register. When you realize the last registration exercises, the NDC held a series of press conferences where they had stopped people from registering. People they suspected were not from the constituency, raised serious allegations, and even...
You have just 1 minute.
Right, Robert, if what we are getting is the sense is that Honorable Ambrose Derry has to do more to gain confidence of his party executives in the constituency, especially current feud happening in the constituency. And that's our reporter Robert Dingbe giving us up-to-date understanding of what is happening in the Nandom constituency. We'll be going back to him quickly to get to understand what really is a concern, because this has been like a safe seat for the NPP in the region, in the Upper West region. And if the NPP are not so sure of winning this seat, then what becomes of the seats they have never won in the region? I mean, this is one of the seats they will not like to lose, because if they lose this seat, it means that in general terms, they are going to perform poorly in the Upper West region, because other seats we know have dominantly been won by the NDC, and this has been a safe seat for them since 2016, and they will be looking forward to, they'll be wanting to win this seat. But if Ambrose is facing issues with his constituency executives, it means that if he wants to win the seat, they have to address those concerns and move forward as a party. Like I mentioned earlier, this has been the terrain in the Nandom constituency, where you see one party having issues, the other try to capitalize on it, because Ambrose Dare and himself capitalized on NDC's issues, the internal wrangling of the National Democratic Congress in 2016 to win the election, and he capitalized on it in that 2020 elections as well to win the seat for the New Patriotic Party. So it will be on him to ensure that the same thing that he benefited from doesn't come back to bite him, and we will be getting to understand what really are the concerns. Why are the executives, the constituency executives, not happy with him? Even his personal aide not being part of his campaign team again, that should be a concern for Ambrose Dare and the NPP in the region. Like I mentioned, it is only Nandom and the Sisala East that the NPP are holding on to currently, and they can't afford to lose any more seats in the Upper West region, because Upper West region makes up of it's made up of 11 seats in the region, and NPP currently hold just 3 of them. So it will be dire for them to lose this seat if they actually do not resolve the issues in the Nandom constituency. But let's move our attention away from Nandom. When we get Robert, we'll try to get the details of what is really happening in Nandom. But let's move our attention away from Nandom to another constituency in the Upper West region. This time around, Dafiama Busi Isa constituency in the Upper West region. It is one of the 11 constituencies in the Upper West region. Originally, it was formerly part of the then Nadoli district in 1988, until the eastern part of the district was later split off to create the Dafiama Busi Isa district on June 28, 2012. Now, that's the remaining part of has been renamed to as the Nadoli Kalio district. Now, the district assembly is located in the western part of the Upper West region and has the Isa as its capital town. Now, the seat is located within the Busi Isa, Dafiama Busi Isa district of the Upper West region. Its western neighbor is the Nadoli Kalio district. To the north is the Jirapa, and the Sisala West is Sisala West, and to the east is the Sisala East, and to the southeast, the Wa East, to the southwest is the Wa West constituency. So it is bordered by a lot of constituencies in the Upper West region. So it is in the middle of a lot of constituencies. You can talk about the Wa West, the Wa East, the Sisala East, and the Sisala West constituencies. The Dafiama Busi Isa constituency is in the middle of these constituencies. Now, the constituency was changed in the 2012 when the initial Nadoli district was divided into the Nadoli Kalio district and the Dafiama Busi Isa district. Therefore, the Nadoli Kalio became the new constituency for the initial Nadoli West, and the Nadoli East constituency was also changed to the current Dafiama Busi Isa constituency. Historically, now this constituency has been a safe seat for the NDC since 2012, with the late Puza Matthias Azuma, the current MP, taking over the seat since 2016 till date. So we will get to understand, will the dynamics remain the same in the constituency for the National Democratic Congress, where they have had a sweep all through in the elections in the constituency since 2012? Will the NDC maintain their dominance in the constituency? Because what we are picking up shows that the NPP candidate is aggressively campaigning, and this time around must be the lucky time for the New Patriotic Party, and they might snatch the seat away from the NDC. But we'll try to get to understand if really the NPP stand a chance per what we know of the Nadoli of the Dafiama-Busi Issa constituency of the Upper West region. But before we get to look at what we can expect in that 2024 election, just 5 days away, let's get to understand the trajectory of voting in the constituency for the presidential and the parliamentary as well. We'll get to understand the presidential and the parliamentary. We'll get to understand the presidential and the parliamentary elections, how it has been, the trajectory of the vote or the voting pattern in this constituency, and we'll try to understand whether the NDC will be able to maintain the safe spot they've had since 2012, or the NPP will snatch the seat this time around from the National Democratic Congress in the constituency. And that is what we will try to get to understand very quickly. In a moment from now. We try to give you the analysis, the constituency analysis of the constituency, the presidential and the parliamentary analysis, and the Fiama-Busi Issa constituency of the Upper West region. The NPP are struggling. They are trying to snatch the seat away from the NDC in the constituency. However, the NDC, who has an incumbent member of parliament, and he is also trying his possible best to retain the seat for the National Democratic Congress. Will the NDC retain the seat, or the NPP will get the seat for the first time since 2012, following its division into the Busi Issa, the Fiama-Busi Issa constituency of the Upper West region? But before that, we will try to also go back to Robert Dingbe, our reporter on grounds, to get to understand how both constituencies are shaping up in this year's elections, who stand a chance of winning, because we know that both parties will try and concentrate their effort in the Upper West, the Upper East, the Northeast, the Northern region, and the Savannah region, because they both, the two leading candidates in this year's election, the two leading candidates in this year's election, the NPP candidates and the NDC presidential candidates, all are from the northern part of the country, so they will try as much as possible to compete for the parliamentary seat in this constituency. So, but before we get to go to Robert and understand what really is happening in these two constituencies, as he was giving us the breakdown of the issues in Nandom, let's quickly get to understand the dynamics in the Dafiama-Busi Issa constituency of the Upper West region. As you can see here, you realize that this again has been a very safe spot for the National Democratic Congress, where in way back in 2004, even before the division of the constituency, the NDC has won in the constituency by 61 in that 2004 elections by 64.60% of the vote. In 2008, they won again by 53.20%. 2012, another very easy win for the National Democratic Congress, 67.20. 2016, 67.90. And in 2020, they actually increased their margin to 71.28%. Now, you look at the NPP's trend, you realize that they have been struggling to amass any substantial vote in the constituency. Now, even the worst performance the party had was in the 2020 elections in terms of the the presidential ballot, and that would be a concern for the New Patriotic Party heading into this year's election. Just 5 days away to the elections, the NPP will be wanting to increase their margin, because 25.44% is not a result the New Patriotic Party will be looking to get in the 2024 elections. Now, let's look at the parliamentary trend as well in the Dafiama-Busi Issa constituency. Now, in the parliamentary, a very sweeping win for the NDC in the constituency as well. They've won it all the way from 2004 up until the last election, 2020. The question will be, will they be able to win it in this year's elections? And that is what we'll try to understand when we get our correspondents on the line. Now, in 2004, the NDC won by 60.10%, won again in 2008 by 47.20%, 0.30%. In 2012, where the NPP lost the presidential election, they still lost in this constituency, NDC winning by 55.40. In 2016, the NPP won the elections the general elections, but lost in this constituency. And in 2020, even when they won the general elections, they still lost in this constituency. So the NDC has had a very sweeping win in the constituency, and this has been the case for the Dafiama Busi Issa constituency. Now let's look at the key contest. Who were the key contenders in these elections starting from 2008 up until 2020? Because this would help us understand how the 2024 elections will shape up. If you look at the contest, now in 2008, the NDC presented Matthias Asuma Puza as their candidate, and he won that year's election. Even though he didn't cross the 50% mark, he still won with 47.30% of the vote, when the NPP Robert Eko Dash only had 46.19% of the vote. Now let's quickly look at the 2012 elections, the parliamentary elections. Look at the two key contenders as well, because this will help us understand whether if these two contenders will be on the ballot, and if there's a change, how that is likely to affect the outcome of the elections. In 2012, Matthias Azuma Puza of the NDC coming in again to win that election against the same face, Robert Eko Dash of the NPP. But this time around, he increased the margin to 2,362 votes in that 2012 elections. Now keep your eyes on the margin, 2,362 votes. Let's look at the 2016 elections for the Dafiama Busi Issa constituency. Now these were the face in the 2016 election. The current MP for the area, Sebastian Sandari of the NDC, won that in that election, getting over 8,000 votes in the 2016 election, winning by a margin of 3,793 votes in that 2016 election, as against Longa Sanye of the NPP in that 2016 election. Now Sangare Sebastian went again to contest in the 2020 elections. He went again to contest in the 2020 elections, and in 2020 he faced off Nadi Imoru Sanda of the NPP, and he beat him with some 2,427 vote difference. Now these two faces would be on the ballot once again for the to their respective parties. You will have Sebastian Sandari of the NDC contesting again for the December 7 polls in the Dafiama Busi Issa constituency, as well as Nadi Imoru Sanda of the NPP being on the ballot again for the New Patriotic Party. Now, can Nadi unseat the NDC Sebastian Sandari? It's a question we'll try to answer in a short while, because we are understanding that Nadi Imoru Sanda is making a lot of ground. He's gaining grounds in the constituency with his campaign and with his strategy. He's pushing very hard to snatch the seat away from the NDC for the first time in the DBI constituency. So let's cross over to our reporter who is on ground, Robert Dimbe, and Robert joins us once again to help us understand the Dafiama Busi Issa constituency. But before we get into that, Robert, before we lost you, we were talking about the Nandom constituency. Hello, Robert. Hello, Robert. Hello, Robert, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Right, Robert, I was mentioning that before we lost you, we were talking about the Nandom constituency before we lost you. Now, in just a few minutes, wrap up for us. What is the issue that Ambrose Derry is facing in the constituency with regards to his executives in the party? What is the real issue? Is the issue of him not showing up for them when they needed him, or there's something particularly happening in the constituency?
He has been accused of masterminding things by himself. He doesn't allow party executives, especially other constituents, powerful party constituents to have a say as far as it has to do with the party. It's gradually becoming that without Ambrose, no decision can be held or no move can be made in the constituency, and that is why most of these guys are raising concerns. And instead of just leaving it at concerns, then you have them going around campaigning against it.
Wow. So as it stands now, if you've been in the constituency, would you say his chances of winning have slimmed down following these disagreements in the party?
Most definitely. He actually had a better margin the last time, and this time around, if he is not careful, he will not be able to make that margin, if only it doesn't go below patience, because he really has a lot to face now, as his strong companions who were always trumpeting his issues, championing his campaigns, are all taking a nosedive at this niche in time. It really doesn't augur well for Honorable Ambrose Derry. But as it is, maybe he has a better strategy.
But what is the NDC's candidate, Richard Quay, doing in the constituency? Are people seeing him as a better alternative to Ambrose Derry?
As a matter of fact, until this very moment, he wasn't that visible like expected. Even in 2020, he was more visible than he is now. Even at a point where the original chairman of his party was in his constituency campaigning for him, he left at a point in time. So when you look at some of these indicators, it really doesn't augur well. But as to whether that will be enough to let the constituents want to give him their mandate other than Honorable Ambrose Derry until the elections come, but you still cannot rule off anything. Honorable Ambrose Derry, for his usual strategy that the NDC was able to stop the other time, like I said, during the registration, where people were not allowed to register, where they accused people of being outsiders, not coming from the constituency, which has always been a trend in the Nandom constituency. And when you look at the special voting, for instance, Nandom alone has over 1,227 delegates, electors to participate in this special voting. That also speaks volumes. As former Interior Minister, we have more security personnel that will be coming to the Nandom constituency to vote and go back, and that should give you some level of indications that perhaps on that tangent he probably would have made a better gain. But as to whether those coming are really coming in his favor, because it appears that most of the people Ambrose have raised somehow are the same people doing this kind of campaigns against him. So we don't really know what it's going to be like going into the general elections.
Right, just before we wrap up on the Nandom constituency, now describe to us what will it mean for the NPP if they lose this seat, because we know that it is one of the few seats they currently hold in the Upper West region, and if you look at the other seat, they are like a no-go area for the New Patriotic Party. How dire is it for the party if they lose this seat?
If they lose this election, it's most likely going to mean that NPP will not have a representation in the upper, because when you look at the charts, all indicators show that Nandom is most likely the safest seat for the NPP as far as the Upper West region is concerned. To move where Honorable Chinyere, the Deputy Sanitation Minister, was making some sort of gains, have been reigned due to issues that has to do with the two township roads and all that, where he also had issues with fertilizer smuggling and all that, which raised his ugly head prior to his primaries. So all these are issues that are being used against him at the moment. And the last election, the PNC candidate who actually had over 10,000 votes. Honorable Chinyere had over 11,000 votes. The NDC candidate also had over 11,000. But the difference wasn't much. And now the PNC man has become a member of the NDC and have given his mandate to the NDC, as well as the PNC National declaring their support to the NDC, is likely to trickle down into the constituency. And also, though the PNC executives in the constituency earlier declared their support to the Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Chinye, that also has been turned by the national executives. And it's not going to be an easy thing, because there's a clear cut that the PNC in the Tumu Sisala East constituency is giving their mandate to that of the NDC, and it is not going to be easier for Honorable Chinye to put through, except maybe something is able to happen, or that he has a different strategy that he's not disclosed yet, or we are not seeing manifest yet. Else, it wouldn't be an easy thing for Honorable Chinye as far as the Sisala East constituency is concerned. And these are the safe places. When you go to Lambuse, where the MPP has another candidate, Honorable Bright Baligi, who is a member of parliament, there now the NDC in the constituency, who were divided in the 2020 elections, that gave Honorable Bright the opportunity to go to parliament. They have reunited and making gains seriously in the constituency. But as to whether that will also enable the Honorable Prof. Titus Bayu to sail through into parliament, that is another thing. Else, the Nandom and Tumu seat could have been considered as some kind of safe seats for the MPP. But at the moment, the Tumu seat is likely to slide away. But for Nandom, maybe they have another strategy to put in place. Else, it's really not going to be a done deal for the MPP.
Right. So it means that the NPP has a lot of work to do in the Upper West region. Now, let's move attention to one of the constituencies that if they want to get a seat, I mean, they can also focus their attention there, just in case if they lose the safe seat that they have, the 3 seats they have in that constituency, they can move their attention and focus on winning that seat to get at least a seat in the Upper West region, because we know Upper West hasn't favored the NPP for a very long time. Now, in the Dafiama Busi Isa constituency, they are presenting a candidate that this time around, he contested in that 2020 elections, but we are seeing different campaign strategy, and he's pulling a lot of numbers and making some considerable gains in the constituency. What would you say, per your assessment, are the chances of Imoro Sanda in this year's election for the NPP?
Yes, Honorable Imoro Sanda, being the DC of the area, has done a good number of interventions to the people with regards to as well this Soko project. He has really utilized it by creating roads, constructing markets, even though the markets are being criticized to not befitting the communities. But you cannot rule the fact that the people feel that once they didn't have, but now they have such markets. But the Member of Parliament, Honorable Dr. Sandari, has a better grip of the area. Prior to the primaries, where he won by 8 votes or 9 votes, I can't remember, it was a single ticket, either 8 or 9 immediately. But the contender, Honorable Abukeke, former Deputy Upper Regional Minister, who he's come were having issues trying to advise for skirt and blouse and all that, but he was gradually hit in line. He is now championing a campaign team in the constituency. When you go to the DBI constituency, where it is divided, north south, we have the northern sector where Honorable Sanda comes from, and by coincidence, that's Abu Keke also hails from. So in that context, it's more like Abu Keke neutralizing that area. But when you look at the votes Honorable Sanda got and what Sandare got as well, you will not be able to fill the testing so much, because the gap was big, over 23% distance. And I think that if Honorable Sanda will have to do, he has to work harder. As DBI, when you even notice, mostly the president wins with a bigger margin in the constituency. The former president, John Dramani Mahama, in 2016, 2020, he won with a bigger margin as compared to the member of parliament. And that should tell you that perhaps some differences within the NDC probably still giving attention to the member of parliament. But yes, the DC, I beg your pardon. But when you look at this time around, if not equal, seeing them merge, have Honorable Bukeke championing campaign, and people that are always not so satisfied with Honorable Dr. Sangari coming from the NDC also joining the train at this point in time, then you will know that it will be a difficult thing for Honorable Sangari to sail through. He probably will have extra work to do to be able to make that thing as far as the constituency is concerned. And at the moment, a community known as Bure, the Buse in the constituency, that is where Honorable Sanders seems to be making gains somehow. That place is also a very serious community. It has population. It has about 5 polling stations there. And when you look at the gains he's making in that constituency, in that community, it's not something you can easily downplay as far as the numbers from that area is concerned. And
right,
yeah,
Robert, because of our time, we would like to wrap things up. But before I let you go, finally, now let's look at the dynamics in the Upper West region. Per your monitoring, there are 11 seats in the Upper West region. We saw the NPP win. They won 3 in the last elections. If we are putting the reports and the issues that you've gathered so far in the region, what are the chances of the New Patriotic Party? Are their number likely to reduce, maintain, or increase?
Yeah, it's likely to reduce in the Upper West region.
Wow.
Their number is likely to reduce in the Upper West region.
Right, thank you, Robert Dinge. He's our Upper West regional correspondent, giving us understanding of what really is happening in the Upper West region in terms of the parliamentary elections. And he's been saying that per what he's monitored, per the happenings in the region, the NPP are likely to decrease in terms of their seat in the Upper West region. Right now, the party has 3 seats in the Sisala East constituency, the Nandam constituency, and then the Lambushi constituency as well. And if they don't put things together, they might likely lose any of these seats and their numbers will drop down further. And that will not be a good sign for the New Patriotic Party, as the party wants to break away from the hung parliament that has currently bedeviled them, for which reason they've struggled to make any gains in parliament in the past couple of months. And that is how much time will allow us here today on Constituency in Focus with me, Samuel Nyimabo. And like we've been doing over the period, it is just 5 days to the elections, and this is the place that you can stay with us to get understanding of what is happening across the country and see even if your party has a chance of winning the parliamentary seat, because both parties have told us that they are getting a bigger majority this year's election. We will on Constituency in Focus, when we go across the country in the various regions, in the 16 regions of the country, we'll be able to give you analysis for you to understand if really your party is telling you the truth when they say they are winning with a big majority in the 2024 elections. And today we've brought you analysis of 2 key constituencies in the Upper West region and further, where we look at the chances of both parties in the NPP and the NDC, I beg your pardon, in the Upper West region. And it is as though the NDC have made considerable gains, and they continue to make the Upper West region one of their strongholds, and the NPP are struggling to make any gains in the region. And if care is not taken, the party's chances may dwindle down further before even December 7th. And this is how we will end the show here today. Do stay with us. We will bring you ABC News Prime at 6, and keep your dial here as we bring you up-to-date report on today's special voting. We brought you reports